There is nothing better than new information when you are evaluating the stock market. And we have that now. It is Wednesday. It is The Beat. It is the Austin Birm Show. He's Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. And we have an opportunity to make some fresh new investments and make a lot of fake money.
Neat.
What could be better than that?
Well, real money.
Oh, yeah.
If we could make that.
That makes sense.
For doing this, that'd be great.
But Ohio State beat the number one team in the country, preseason number one, on Saturday. They had a bunch of new faces in more prominent roles. Not a ton of depth for us to really invest in the futures market.
Which does make it difficult.
It does. But there definitely were some people making impressions, maybe making themselves some money along the way against the Longhorns on Saturday. Birm, where should we begin?
I don't want to do it because there's so much purchased in the preseason and the off-season and last recruiting season. But I don't think we can ignore the fact that Devin Sanchez was on the field in the second drive of the game.
We should not.
And that he was also on the field in the last couple of drives of the game.
Played 11 snaps.
11 snaps. That is 11 more than Aaron Scott played. That's 11 more than Bryce West played. So while we understand that every week Matt Patricia's defense is going to look different and do different things, it's pretty telling to me that in week one against Texas, Devin Sanchez was out there in those moments. And I don't know what that means long-term for the rest of the guys. I don't know how many reps he's going to get on Saturday. I think he'll probably play probably more than 11 or so.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Davis Igbinosun and Jermaine Matthews, provided the score is where it should be at the end of quarter one. Maybe that's where they wrap up, kind of like it's a spring game. And so I think we're about to really see the takeoff from Devin Sanchez. He's wearing number 6. I thought pregame, Devin is a really personable kid, kind of a chatterbox. He's got that cornerback swagger. He looked very, very locked in pregame and was not in the mood for anything other than football.
That's a lot of pressure, man. A true freshman, you make, because he knew then.
Yeah.
It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't like Matt Patricia, we don't know who the dime defender is going to be. It could be Bryce West. It could be Aaron Scott. It could be Devin. He knew. Yeah. That was the game plan. that is a huge moment for a true freshman to be in.
And he gave up the one catch down the sideline on maybe Arch Manning's best ball of the day, the 30-yarder on the last drive of the game for Texas. But those are the things that you're going to have happen when you're any cornerback. Doesn't matter if you're in year 1 or year 10. Although there aren't many year 10 guys at Ohio State, but
I don't think that's ever happened.
Not yet. We saw that Oregon tight end last year had year 9 or something. So I'm sure we're getting to the double-digit years for that soon. But Devin Sanchez has to be on this list as far as a guy that okay, well now the expectation may be set properly. He's still not in a position where he's going to have to start over Jermaine Matthews or Davis Igbinosun, which I think is great. I think it keeps the pressure off of Devin a little bit, and he can just go out there and kind of play and be free. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Devin Sanchez and Aaron Scott lined up together at corner and see what that looks like, because I think we'll see that a lot on Saturday.
Yeah, I was 100% wrong. I said
not just you. I mean, I think it was a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, but all I can do is take accountability for the things that I say.
Sure.
And I thought not just that Devin Sanchez wouldn't play against Texas, but that if there was a rotation at corner, which here's the thing, I'm not surprised that Ohio State did not rotate in the secondary. They put all this time and effort into winning this game, and the ones that they trusted most were going to be out there. This was not an opportunity to experiment. This was not the game where you go try and build depth for the length of the season. That's happening on Saturday against Grambling State. The following week against Ohio University, it is a step up. Not saying that anything is guaranteed in that one, but this is now that build-up where you start to see an Aaron Scott, or where I would have thought we would see Devin Sanchez for the first time, Malik Hartford, Bryce West, everyone now down the road. So it's massively important. It is hugely significant that Matt Patricia, Matt Guerrieri, Tim Walton said, they're playing Texas, Arch Manning is there, these are the weapons, and Devin Sanchez is going to be the dime defender. And we spent the last 8 months talking about that dime defender being the one that's most likely going to get targeted, because that's what happened to Lorenzo Styles, and it
did happen to Devin Sanchez.
It was 6th place in the Olympic, 6th place in the Olympics. Someone's out there is going to lose, and Devin Sanchez gave up a throw, but I don't think that you saw him fazed by the competition. You're definitely not going to see, I think, Ohio State coaches back off the role that they've given him. So that's ahead of schedule. As you said, what does that mean for Aaron Scott or Bryce West? I mean,
maybe nothing.
It means nothing. It means for week 1 that they were not part of that game plan, that Devin Sanchez was ahead at that point. I'm surprised by that point. Not surprised that they played 6 total guys in the secondary. That was going to happen. So,
and I'm ultimately not surprised that Devin is putting himself in that position. He was the number 1 ranked defensive back in the country coming out of high school a year ago. He was a 5-star all-world Mr. Everything. So, like, I think it's just another reminder that the expectations for freshmen have to start changing a little bit. Because but it's also, they have to be put out there to see if they can sink or swim.
But it's also, you know this, Birm. Yeah, we saw and heard many things. We know that throughout the duration of spring ball, there were times that it was like, okay, this is why Aaron Scott's getting these opportunities in these open practices. He's ahead of schedule at this point. Also a reminder of his work ethic that Devin Sanchez has been able to close that gap and then evidently surpass it. So kudos to him for finding out, all right, this isn't maybe going to be as easy in March and April as I expected, and then going back to work throughout August. Because even if you had said the last time that we laid eyes on a practice ourselves on day 3, it's like, that's why I said it's not going to happen against Texas. Aaron Scott and Bryce West are closer, and then those scrimmages revealed something different. And you mentioned that with Julian Sayin having that gamer gene. Seems like Devin Sanchez may have that as well.
We're going to have 3 really good years of Devin Sanchez, and so it's not a surprise.
Well, the clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking. So it's not a surprise in retrospect that he is elevating, because that's what he's designed to do.
Yeah, so you know what? I was wrong again. 0 for 2 on the Ohio State secondary, because I thought it would be closer to a timeshare at safety between Jaylen McClain and Malik Hartford. I boldly predicted at some point, and maybe on a stock watch as well, that Malik would start against Texas. So that did not happen, and I can clearly see why, because Jaylen McClain was absolutely everywhere on Saturday. When you get that Iron Buckeye stuff, I tend to ascribe a lot of value to that. I talked to Jaylen early in training camp just about that. He's like, yeah, that's what I expected. I mean, that's the work that he was putting in. There is the uncertainty where Malik Hartford had spent a couple of years in the program. He'd been on the field, had some really good training camps. I don't think he's done anything wrong, but the elevation from Jaylen McClain is undeniable. Yeah. I mean, in Ohio State, Matt Patricia, Matt Guerreri clearly trusted him with a prominent role, and it was that one tackle where he's heading towards the sideline. It's like, how did he get there? You've talked about him and his recruitment and the athleticism and the toughness that he plays with. That's the first time that you saw it really under the bright lights. He lived up to everything.
His brother is committed to Tennessee in the class of 2026, and Jaylen was not a highly recruited kid out of high school, despite the fact that he was committed to Ohio State. He was not like a top 100 guy. His brother, KJ, is also not that guy, but he's committed to Tennessee. Ohio State needs another corner or 2 in this class. I'm sorry, I trust the gene pool now, man. Go get it. Don't let that kid's brother go to Tennessee.
No.
Maybe he's going to have to grow a little bit. He's a little smaller in stature than Jaylen, but if the football IQ and the mentality are anywhere near the same.
Well, Jaylen's not the biggest.
No, but Jaylen also said his younger brother, not KJ, but the one below them, is the biggest of the group, and he's going to be a big-time defensive lineman. So, let's just get them all, because there's no point in letting.
That's a real deep future stock.
Don't let his brother go to Tennessee, and Jaylen is now represented by an agency in Nashville. Let's not allow this door to open up for Tennessee to get all weird in the offseason. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Here's the deal. We don't know, similar to what it means for Bryce West or Aaron Scott with Devin Sanchez, what does it mean big picture for Malik Hartford? I don't know. I don't think that Ohio State is going to leave that Texas game going, well, we have some uncertainty at safety. I think you go, well, we've got our guys at safety.
And we've got this in reserve.
And now you have a group that is well, that's pretty elite because of what they can all move 1,000 different places. I'm not surprised Jaylen McClain is good. I am surprised that there was not even a play that Malik Hartford could get on the field against Texas, knowing how much they were running the ball in the middle of the field, knowing that you were going kind of a light box at times for Ohio State and forcing them to run. It surprised me that you wouldn't bring in the enforcer type safety to, just lay a lick or 2 on Texas's tailbacks. But it's hard to argue it because the statistics bear it out. The play bears it out. The Iron Buckeye bears it out. Jaylen McClain has earned everything he's getting, and go get the whole rest of the bloodline. That's what I'm saying.
Since I was wrong about those 2 things, I would like to mention that I correctly invested in Lorenzo Styles Jr. It was
Well,
a lot. It was pointed out to me a lot that I was.
He's my next stock, so I this feels like an all secondary, all the time version. But I had no idea that Lorenzo Styles was going to be able to drop back and play deep safety and allow Caleb. That was really the question I kept asking 2 weeks ago. Like, who's who? Who's last year's who? And who allows Caleb Downs to do the things Caleb Downs did a year ago? And apparently it's Lorenzo Styles.
He's doing the Jordan Hancock.
He's playing the Jordan Hancock, dropping back into the deep safety role, moving around, playing guys in slot. And I'm telling you, like, Lorenzo does not get the credit that Sonny gets as far as his athleticism and just the twitchiness. There was one play in that game where he like jumped to stop a pass, and I was like, "Damn, Lorenzo jumping out the gym!" Like he put on, he looked like he was wearing those Jimmy shoes from Seinfeld. You know that episode? Like Lorenzo Styles is. I think Lorenzo Styles, Jaylen McClain, both proved that they were like too good to take off the field, and that sucks for guys like Malik Hartford, but that's big boy football, and so now Malik's going to have to find a different way to contribute, and when he gets his opportunity, which he'll get a lot of this weekend.
But yeah, those chances are coming.
Like, go out there and make sure that you put on a show on Saturday so that the conversation still includes your name.
Yeah, but because I don't. It's a good thing that Ohio State got through that game.
It's a good thing for Ohio State.
Yeah, and it's now a fresh opportunity, a fresh challenge. You'd say it's Malik Hartford, Aaron Scott, and Bryce West can all be disappointed that they didn't contribute to the game personally. That's human. That's natural. That's fine. Okay, well, that's over with. Over the course of the season, if Ohio State is going to play into January again, they are going to need all three of those guys to perform. And I don't think that they did anything wrong in training camp.
No.
I know in spring ball they didn't. They were all doing things that were really encouraging. So there's going to be moments where the next wave has to step up and deliver. They're going to get game action this Saturday, and I bet they get it the following Saturday.
Well, that's the right or wrong game. Like, you don't mean to play that game, but the question is now, like, are we right about Matt Patricia's defense basically changing every week? Because that's the assumption. And we made a lot of assumptions about what this defense would look like in the offseason. Now we have one game body of work to prove it.
Yeah.
Will that be right? Because I just don't know. I don't know that I watched that game on Saturday, and you can tell me if you feel differently. I don't know that I watched it and saw a moment where I thought, well, Lorenzo and Jaylen are the wrong guys to be out there in this setting, in this circumstance, whether it was at the goal line, whether it was in the prevent defense, like they looked to be the right guys. And so it's just going to be interesting to see how Matt Patricia and Tim Walton and Matt Guerrieri now like shift that heading into the next phase of the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think that Ohio State had spent 4 weeks with a mindset locked fully on Texas. And that's why when we talked about coming out of Saturday with the offensive game plan and the execution, and could they have been more aggressive here or done this or that there, the way that Matt Patricia installed that plan and the way that it was executed with that personnel, it's like, what would you have changed? Ohio State could have scored more points on offense. Yes, they could have. They couldn't have done much better on defense against Texas and Arch Manning. So, like, this is one of those times when
they had, 44% of the yards after the turnover or the interception that got overturned?
Well, I mean,
like, the game was over, and Ohio State went into a prevent, essentially.
Like, almost 20% of it came on the one throw. Yeah. So, I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. That part's fine. But I do ascribe to that belief that playing Texas in the opener is like playing a playoff game. Like, whatever it takes to win that game is fine. And I don't know how you can quibble with it. It is also totally within reason to say, well, if this thing doesn't get better or look different down the road, then they won't be able to do that again. Yeah, we can have that conversation when we get there. But these next few weeks are about expanding the arsenal, about adding more players into the mix. And I didn't think even in week one that when Keenan Bailey said that 5 tight ends were going to play, I was like, sure. I'd love to see it, but there's no way. But that's another thing that you're going to continue to see a lot more of. I think Nate Roberts getting out there, maybe not at fullback every snap, but
I'll make an early bold prediction. He's going to score a touchdown.
I bet he plays
on Saturday.
I bet he plays 15 snaps against Grambling, and I won't be surprised if he scores. So chalk that up as another one that I kind of scoffed at going into the game, and that wasn't a starting role, but that's one of the few areas where Ohio State felt so good about its depth that you've referenced, and I think it was 63% in 12 and 13 personnel.
More than one tight end. I think it was. I was told 70%. You said 63 on the daily with on the beat with Zach Bourne on Monday. But either way, that's
between 63 and 70%, and that was a reflection of how much confidence they had in one of the more veteran units on this team, that was what they were going to highlight and get to. But it wasn't just Bennett Christian, Jelani Thurman, Will Kazmarek, and Max Clare. Nate Roberts was, even if it was just one play, was given a role and made the most of it. So that, I think, you'll continue to expand. Now, does that mean that Ohio State is suddenly going to play 5 tight ends 70% of the time? No, because you still have to get Mylan Graham and Bryson Rodgers involved offensively, and they will. But the fact that you could is pretty good for these physical knockdown, drag-out fights.
How many years have you been waiting for the Mitch Rossi evolution of this offense?
Well, Mitch Rossi.
If you put Mitch Rossi's style...
This offense would be unstoppable if Mitch Rossi was on it.
Style of play into a 6'5", 250-pound Nate Roberts...
Yeah.
Doesn't sound bad to me. So, wait, I'm not sure what we're doing. This is still Stonk Watch, right? Is Nate Roberts your stock? Or
I said Nate Roberts, yeah. No, I already own all the tight end stock. But I actually hadn't invested specifically in Nate Roberts because I was like, what is he doing out there? Yeah, true freshman and 4th and 1. Out of all the things we talk about, like that was at that point, and even when you zoom out, one of the biggest snaps of the game.
Well, that's what I think was so funny, and this is neither here nor there. It's sort of an aside, but we talked a lot about the offensive game plan and how Ohio State really buckled down and was conservative and didn't want to put guys in positions to make big mistakes in big moments, and yet they're going for it on 4th down on the first drive of the game and trying to throw a 50-yard touchdown on that play.
Yeah.
On the next 4th and 1 that they get, it's at the 1-yard line, and they bring in a freshman tight end to play fullback, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is conservative. So it's a little bit interesting to see that mindset as it has evolved during the game, but also what it's going to mean moving forward. And that's why somehow people can go back, America, you can go back and watch every stock watch we've done. I don't know that we've ever purchased stock in number 10, Julian Sayin. So it's time, because I was skeptical about Julian's ability to turn it on in a game setting, because at times I felt like he was just a little too casual when we saw practice stuff.
California cool.
A little California cool. I saw a tweet that he actually ended up retweeting on his Instagram that it said, Julian Sayin looks like he plays football listening to Maroon 5. And I think that's perfect. And
what's your favorite Maroon 5 song?
She Will Be Loved.
Yeah.
I think I misinterpreted Julian's competitiveness and his personality a little bit, and I'm willing to own that. I am fully on the Julian Sayin is going to be a great quarterback at Ohio State bus as of right.
I thought it was a plane.
Well, it's whatever, some sort of large vehicle that can move a lot of people, because a lot of people are going to get on that plane or bus or train in these next couple of weeks. I don't know that we're going to see it in large doses like we did with CJ Stroud, where it's like, oh, here's a 500-yard game. Oh, here's a 480-yard game. I don't know if we're going to see that. But the decision-making, the ball placement, the ability to, no one's really discussed the throw that he made to Carnell Tate on the sideline rolling out of the end zone at all, which was unbelievable. That's the type of thing against Texas, who has real freaks. They have alien-esque dudes on their team. And Julian did not seem fazed by anything that happened in that game. And I don't think it matters what his statistics were. I don't think it even mattered if Ohio State won or lost the game. As long as he played it that way, then I'm all in on Julian Sayin being the leader of this team for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think the practice performances, and we talked about this when we were discussing the legitimacy, if that's the way people want to view it, of the competition and what was taking, what was Ryan Day waiting to see. There was variance between the best throws and the worst throws. And I think what Ohio State was looking for, not just in terms of command of the huddle and command in the locker room and communication at the line of scrimmage, was that next step. And you described it as, sort of, being that gamer. And if all we had to go on was the 8 practices, it was like all the things that we said about that remain true. Mm-hmm. They were looking for the routine plays routinely, but a level of consistency. Julian Sayin, like, all 20 of those throws were where they needed to be.
Yeah. I don't even know that he made routine plays routinely on Saturday because the game plan was so wonky in a way. But, like, he didn't make plays that you're like, no, what are you doing? Like, we saw C.J. Stroud do that multiple times in his career, even in year 2 as a starter. Yeah. We certainly saw it out of Justin Fields and other guys. And to not have any of those dope moments against Texas in week 1 of your first college start, like, kudos. Like, he deserves all the credit that he gets for that game, regardless of the stats.
100%. All the conversation was, there's no question whatsoever that who's got the highest ceiling as a passer. There was never any doubt about that. We said that over and over and over. And the reason that it dragged, and maybe you say it didn't drag, maybe it went exactly on the schedule that you projected and anticipated, and Ryan Day made the decision on a day that we all pretty much circled it probably would happen by then. And it was the person that we thought would get the job. But there was a level of uncertainty or desire, or however you want to put it, to see Julian raise the consistency of the floor. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that you can argue that he's done that. No. Not done that. He is at that level right now.
All you wanted to see was him, once he was named the starter, was to make sure that job, which was now his, that he didn't open the door for someone else. And that door, as far as I'm concerned, is completely shut this season.
Yeah, it's slammed and it's locked, and I think that's got to be the great thing for Ryan Day and Brian Hartline and Billy Fessler. It's like, he got through that, and it's only going to get better. The information they got, like, they did not waste any time. Ryan Day went straight to the podium on Saturday and said, we could have given him more.
He actually said it on the field post-game to Jenny Taft or whatever from Fox. He said that exact same thing, like, well, in retrospect, we probably should. Like, to have the ability to be like, whoa, we saw something we weren't. He talked about assumptions. Like, I would love to know how close that assumption was for him on Julian.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said it over and over. Like, Ryan Day does not make accidents when he's talking about it. So I think you can put his comments and what he said after the game on Saturday and apply that to the last 7 months and get a better idea of what this journey has been like to get Julian Sayin to the point that he was on Saturday, and where maybe that he was actually further along than Ohio State thought, and where he could be in 3 weeks' time. I mean, that's all of this now is going to be getting the wide receiver chemistry, the deep ball attacking, like all.
How are you on deep ball?
How are you on deep ball is a great question. Like, because when we get to September 27th, it's going to be, okay, this is Julian Sayin's first time on the road. It's going to be very loud. It's hostile. And, what are you going to do? Command of the huddle and line of scrimmage and snap count and all that stuff when you get ready for that one. These next 2 games and that off week are all going to be designed now for that next test. So he's going to look different in 3 weeks' time than he did on Saturday, which was obviously good enough for Ohio State to beat Texas.
He did grade out as a champion, which, again, as a quarterback making your first start in that environment against Texas with that pass rush, that's pretty remarkable.
That player? In that system?
That quarterback in that system?
Wow.
Last one.
Later on Wednesday night, when we are in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, we will hear from Ryan Day for a lightning round. And I'm going to be asking about Ethan Onyanwa.
Okay.
I think those, 15 snaps when he was at right guard?
A little hit and miss at the start, but he certainly seemed to level off.
I think that was Ohio State's, clearly, there's only 2 scoring drives to pick from. I think that was the most effective that they looked rushing the ball. Was it perfect? Nope, sure wasn't. Was it perfect when Tegra Shabola was out there? No. Tegra is a veteran. He's played a lot of football. I can understand why he was going back out there into that role after that touchdown drive. I don't really have any issue with that, and we've said all along that Ohio State has this depth. They should use it all. They should play 6 or 7 guys on the offensive line. I am not changing my tune on that, but if there was a panic, if there was a massive sell-off on Ethan Onyanwa,
You can buy cheap right now.
because Phillip Daniels took the right tackle job, I would scoop some of that back up. I think he's another player that will get better as he gets more comfortable moving forward. He's going to continue to get opportunities, and I actually just think that looked the most cohesive that Ohio State did up front, at least in terms of the rushing attack. So,
Yeah. Well, we don't know. Like, was that a byproduct of Ethan Onyanwa being in there and getting his feet wet, or was it C.J. Donaldson being in there? Because that was his drive also.
A lot of factors, but that's why I would like to follow up more with Ryan Day later on Wednesday night about the decision at right guard, the opportunity for Ethan to get back out there, what they thought about that, how long the competition. I mean, it'll go throughout the year.
Yeah.
I think they're all going to play. So I'm not saying you have to change the starting lineup. You have to give this amount of reps one way or the other. But what's the thought process there? Because that drive, when Onyanwa was out there, in my opinion, looked like the best stretch of the game for the offensive line.
Yeah, when he got his hands on people, he moves people. That's what he does. So we did see a couple reps early in that drive where he missed a guy and was trying to pull and whiffed. And first play, I think maybe the first play he was in there, Hirokanu pretty much ran right by him. But it did improve. And all you want to see is, at this point, are guys getting better with every snap. And certainly Ethan did. The question I have for him is, where are you mentally? How are you handling this? Because you certainly didn't transfer from Rice to Ohio State, skip the NFL draft, and all of the possibilities that you had there to come here and not start. Yeah. So how are you handling that? I think Ohio State is very unique in its culture, that I imagine he's handling it fine, because he's got a lot of people around him saying, dude, we've all been waiting for a long time to play here. But you have an opportunity to make yourself valuable. Ohio State would love to probably run some of that Bison offensive line stuff, and if you can do that with Onyanwa out there, then that's a pretty big Bison.
That's wild.
So I think the opportunity is there for him still, but certainly the last 3 weeks didn't go the way he would have anticipated.
Yeah, lots of opportunities.
But the bounce back's the most important thing.
That's right. A lot of those opportunities will be coming on Saturday against Grambling State. That is in the Horseshoe for the Buckeyes. Game number 2, week number 2. We'll have Wednesday press availability number 2 later on tonight. So we will have snap judgments for that. And then we'll have 3 things Thursday on the beat. Full week of coverage, as always, coming your way on the Austin and Birm Show as Ohio State ramps up this season 1-0 and looking for the chance to go 2-0. Thanks for joining us. He's Birm. I'm Austin. These have been Stocks on a Wednesday on the Beat. We'll talk to you later.